Today's recipe is a chocolate beet cake, and I know that sounds a little bit weird, but the beets add a really nice sort of delicate sweetness and earthiness to this cake, as well as contributing to its moistness. So I highly recommend you try it before being like, no way, I'm not making a chocolate beet cake. You start off with some cooked beets. It's about 4 beets, and you can cook them however you want. It's up to you. And the roasting does sort of intensify the sweetness, which might be nice. You want to let this food processor go for a little bit of time so that it really purees. You don't want chunks of beet in the cake. So I scraped down the sides of the food processor a couple times so that everything blended evenly. And I'm just putting them back in the bowl right now. I'm gonna need 1 1/4 cups of puree. This may or may not be the exact right amount depending on the size of your beets. You just never really know. Once you've cooked and pureed your beets, everything else is super duper simple. Everything gets whisked together in this big bowl. It's 2 cups of all-purpose flour. Have your oven preheating to 350. If you've roasted your beets, you may have roasted them at 350. 1 1/2 cups of sugar. I know, just whisking everything together, kind of crazy, right? 1 1/2 teaspoons of baking soda. And 1/4 cup of cocoa powder. And 3/4 teaspoon of salt. Give that a really good whisk, but you want to make sure that your baking soda is well whisked into your ingredients. So we usually recommend whisking for about 30 seconds. We say to do that because if it's not properly combined, you get little pockets of baking soda in your mixture, and that can cause air pockets in your cake. So whisk well. Then add 2 large eggs. Give that a little whisk before you add 3/4 cup of warm water and 1/4 cup of oil, vegetable oil, like a safflower oil or even a canola oil, I guess would be okay. 1 teaspoon of pure vanilla extract, and then 1 1/4 cups of the pureed beet. So I'm going to measure that because I don't know if my amount was exact. I always kind of wish that the beets would color the cake a little bit, but the chocolate is so dark you really don't get any red color from the beets, but you are getting all of that great moisture and earthiness from the beets. And a mild sweetness, like I said. Whisk to combine. I'm switching from the whisk because a lot of my batter is getting stuck in there, and that is not helping to combine very well at all. So I'm going to switch to a rubber spatula. So there's a subtle reddish color to this batter right now, but when it bakes up, it gets pretty dark and intense, and it's not that noticeable. This is a 9 by 3 inch cake pan that I have sprayed with vegetable oil cooking spray and lined the bottom with parchment paper. And you just scrape your batter in there. And then you want to bake this until a toothpick inserted in the center comes out clean. And that'll take about 45 minutes at 350. To finish off the cake, you want to have something really special, so I'm going to glaze it with a ganache glaze. I have 1/2 cup of cream in this pot, and I'm adding 3/4 teaspoon of corn syrup. That just helps with the shininess of the final glaze. It's not necessary, but that's what it's there for if you want to know. Bring that to a simmer. And in this bowl, I have 3 ounces of very finely chopped bittersweet or semi-sweet chocolate, making a ganache. Pour the simmering cream over the chocolate and just let it stand for about 1 minute. And here I have some beet chips, and I just made these beet chips by simmering very, very thinly sliced beets in a sugar syrup for a while, about 30 minutes, until they became translucent. And then I baked them on a baking mat, lined, rimmed baking sheet in the oven until they dried out, about an hour. Once the chocolate has sat for about a minute, you're just letting the chocolate soften enough that when you whisk it or stir it, it will dissolve into the heavy cream. Just stir, stir, stir. It should get nice and shiny and a dark, glossy brown. And then you can pour this directly over the top of your cake. Smooth it over the top. It's going to drip down the sides, which is really awesome and beautiful. And it'll take a little while to set. It will set at room temperature, but you can also just put it into the refrigerator for a little while to let it harden up a little bit. But you can see it's already starting to thicken. So before you put your beet chips on, you're going to want to let the ganache set a little bit. So I'm going to put that in the refrigerator for a few minutes before I do that. When the cake is just set, you can sprinkle your beautiful beet chips on top and then serve. Obviously, the beet chips are optional, but I think they add something really special. They're beautiful and they're really delicious. They're very sweet, very crunchy. A lovely, lovely addition. I think I'll have a bite. Okay. Wow, this is like super rich and moist looking. Amazing. See what I mean though? Not really red at all anymore, but really dense, really moist, and really, really delicious. Give it a try. If you like recipes like this and you want more, make sure to click like and subscribe because we have plenty more where this came from.